Feeling a little unsettled and stressed with the way things are in our world? Experience the peace of Jesus with Finding Peace, our 5-day devotional. Visit purposely.com to sign up. Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
I think if we can impart to our kids that play should be something that continues, that's so powerful. I know that, Paul tells us we're supposed to put away childish things, and I get that, but I think sometimes childish things doesn't mean that you stop playing and you stop laughing.
For sure.
I arrived home for Mother's Day. My kids had kicked me out of the house for a couple hours with my husband. We went and walked down on Lady Bird Lake here in Austin. We got back to the house, and when I arrived, they had prepared Mother's Day dinner for me, which was all about pretty much being on the set of Ratatouille. And there were sound effects and costumes and menus and all kinds of things. And it was so sweet just from a mom's perspective. Oh, they did remember it's Mother's Day. This is fantastic. But I also walked away with a profound gratitude that they still know how to play.
That's
as
awesome.
Young adults.
That's awesome.
Hey, friend, I am so glad you're here. Whether it's your first time to listen to an episode of the AllMomDoes podcast or you've been around for a while, welcome. It is just a delight to spend some time with you. I'm Julie Lyles Carr. This is the AllMomDoes podcast, part of the Purposely Podcast Network. And, it is our mission to come alongside you right where you are walking, the season you're in, the questions you have, the challenges you're facing, the things you're celebrating. It's just a delight to be here as your host. I am so excited to introduce to you someone who is part of my, group of people, these other fellow podcasters and people who are speaking into the parenting space and who are wrestling and processing real time with a lot of the things that you are. I would love for you to meet my new friend, Courtney DeFeo. Courtney, thanks for being with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Delight. We're both Texans, so hello.
I know.
Up, I was going to say down the road, but I guess I'm up a little bit in Dallas.
I mean,
hello.
Technically, depending on how you spin the globe. Yeah, we'll say north. We'll say north of where I'm at. So it's great to get to see you. You are the host of a podcast on the Christian Parenting Network called Pardon the Mess. Give the listener a little snapshot of what Pardon the Mess is all about.
Yeah, when they asked me to take it over from the current host a couple years ago, I had podcasted before and I was like, I don't know. Like, I like all of it. You're like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying. So when it said Pardon the Mess, I was like, all right, that feels like, unarming a little bit. So it's in the Christian Parenting Network, and we do a lot of the same things that you do. Is just try to encourage moms at all seasons and really lighten up just a little bit to be like, yes, it matters, but it's all not that serious. And so I love mentors. So I learn every Thursday on those episodes, just interviewing people like you're doing today. And then on Mondays, I pray for folks through a journal. And we do that every Monday of the school year. And that is something I've fought against because I'm like, I can't do too. And it's been the biggest blessing of my life to be able to just be held accountable to pray for my kids every Monday. So it's fun. I love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How did you begin your podcasting journey? I'm always fascinated to hear how people arrived at, closeting ourselves literally in little corners in which there's not going to be too much noise and buying a big old mic and just launching into the world. How did that happen for you?
Gosh, where do I even begin? So my professor at Auburn called me a shiny object child. And so I have ADD in all fashions of my life, but I'm always like, oh, that sounds fun. Well, that sounds fun. But I started in corporate marketing at Chick-fil-A and just absolutely loved working for that company and learned so much about just glorifying God through whatever you do. And so left there when I got pregnant with my first child, Ella, who's now 18, and just felt this wrestling to stay home with her. But also my mentor jokes and said, you have a pretty big engine under the hood. And I think we all have some brains under the hood, but it's like, what else? And I just had a prayer to God, like, what else could I do during the years of motherhood, which is not easy. And you have many more kids than I do, but I don't care if you have 2 or 8, it's challenging. But I just felt like, God, you wired me really creatively and you wired me for communication. What can I do with that? And so back in 2000, let me think, the girls were like 2 and 5. I launched a blog back then. Remember blogs? Those were fun.
Yes, girl. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I was like, ooh, mom blogging sounds fun. And so things have steamrolled since then. I wrote a couple books and started speaking. I had a podcast just for girl moms and ended up phasing that out and taking about 3 years off from 2020 to 23. And just, there's a lot of reasons, which we'll probably talk about, that went into that. And then Christian Parenting called, and it really felt like an answer answer to prayer that it was kind of the next step for me to keep talking about things I'm passionate about, but in a way that I can still be a really present mom.
I love that. Now you've written several books. You have a book that I absolutely love the title of because it is a value for me. And that book is called In This House We Will Giggle. And I've
Yes.
shared with the listener before that when people say to me, what's the thing that you think has carried your family differently? And I know, Courtney, I know I'm supposed to say something super spiritual, but I say, honestly, we laughed. Like that
Yes.
is what has really carried us
Yes.
in a lot of ways. So tell me about your laughter precept in your family, the value of laughter, and why it led all the way to writing a title, In This House We Will Giggle.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I can't believe I even named that book because I'm actually the crankiest person in our family. I'm pretty joyful, but I'm like a real moody gal. Like if the girls, I remember one time Ron was like, when you snap one day, you're like, we're cleaning the house. And I was like running at people. And Ron's like picking them up like a tsunami was coming. He's like, she snapped. Like, hurry, save the children. But all that to say, it's hilarious that I also wrote a parenting book when they were 2 and 5, as if I had any idea what I was doing. But in that moment, I had left Chick-fil-A. I was at home and I thought, Jesus and virtues and values do not have to be shoved down their throat. And my parents did a great job, but I remember thinking faith and good things was all like boring, and it was cops. And it was like this, I'm going to get in trouble, stand up straight, do the right thing. And as I was experiencing my own life, like it's actually really fun to follow Jesus. It's like, come here, it's like you're sneaking carrots into brownies. It's like, come over here and let's go be generous. And it can be really fun. And so I wanted it to be more an adventure for my kids and not this, oh, we have to go to church, or oh, we have to be kind to people. And so as I started playing around with that in my own parenting and my blog, things started taking off. And it was like I would use that creativity from Chick-fil-A to say, hey, let's go be generous, but let's do it in a really fun way. And also just plain, let's have fun in the house. Like my kids roller skate in the house. We do a lot of crafts in the house. And so I just wanted people to not take their faith and their home life so seriously, but also just like lighten it up a touch because it can be overwhelming. But every now and then we'd also put like their feet on paper plates and do a little ice skating. So throughout the book, there's like 60 ideas of just how to literally lighten up and have some fun. Balloon volleyball is a good one over the couch.
Oh, I like that a lot. We have something that I think you will appreciate because I think you and I have a very similar heartbeat on this.
I can't
We
wait.
stumbled across a couple years ago at Christmas. I ordered a bunch of these little like finger slingshot plastic chickens.
Yes.
Are you aware what these are?
I know
Okay.
them. I wish we had them. Thank you for
Well,
reminding me.
absolutely. I ordered them. They made their way into the Christmas stockings somehow. And so on that Christmas morning, we all sat around, and our ceilings in our family room are 20 feet high. And so they were shooting. We started
Yeah.
out shooting them at each other.
Yeah.
Then it ended up going to the ceiling. Hilarious. And over the course of the next 2-3 weeks, they all fell down, but it was super funny. Fast forward to this past Christmas. I doubled down and bought like a gross of these. And so here we
Yes.
are Christmas morning, but I'd been storing them in my super secret Spidey Christmas gift
Yes.
storing place,
Yes.
which is under my bed.
Correct.
And so they had been there for a few months. And I'm telling you, Courtney, I don't know if the consistency of the sticky got changed in the trademark. I don't know what happened, but we started doing it again, this chicken Christmas tradition at the ceiling. There are probably, I don't know, 60 still stuck on the
No.
ceiling today as we round the corner into summer.
We're
They
gonna
are
need a
not
photo of
coming
that.
down. Oh,
Photo
I
of
got
that.
you.
That
I
is
got you.
hilarious.
I had a plumber and his assistant to the house the other day, and I was chatting with them. They walked into the house. I was explaining what I needed to be done. I could tell they were trying to pay attention to me, but their vision was diverted,
You're like,
trying to understand what was like, was this some kind of mold
it's like, this is
infestation? Like,
unexpected.
what is this? And then I try to explain it and I'm laughing. I'm like, this is so funny. We have these chickens. And you can just tell they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't get it. Just
Did
direct
you
me
like
to the
to,
clogged toilet.
sorry, I'm jumping into podcast host. I forget that I'm the guest, but
No,
did you
go for
like
it.
to play? Because I have friends, like I loved playing. I liked imagination. And I had several friends that were like, we're just not wired like you. Like we don't want to do glue. We don't want
Yeah.
to kick the ball. And so I think that, I don't want all those people to turn it out and be like, well, that's not me. Because I think there's all of us need it.
Right.
Even my husband needs it. He's working all the time. He needs to lighten up a little bit and forget
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
fun with the kids when he gets
You,
home. But did you play?
Absolutely. I did. Now, I loved creative play, and two of my best little friends in elementary school, you probably didn't realize this, but we were ultimate crime fighter detectives under the Nancy Drew moniker.
Yes,
And
of course.
yeah, it was a whole thing. I played Barbies, I played dolls, I did crafts, I did all kinds of imaginary stuff. Here's where I think my challenge is, Courtney, and where I feel it is for a lot of adults, is the permission to play now.
Yeah.
And I think if we can impart to our kids that play should be something that continues,
Yeah.
that's so powerful. I know that, Paul tells us we're supposed to put away childish things, and I get that, but I think sometimes childish things doesn't mean that you stop playing and you stop laughing.
For sure.
I arrived home for Mother's Day. My kids had kicked me out of the house for a couple hours with my husband. We went and walked down on Lady Bird Lake here in Austin. We got back to the house, and when I arrived, they had prepared Mother's Day dinner for me, which was all about pretty much being on the set of Ratatouille. And there were sound effects and costumes and menus and all kinds of things. And it was so sweet just from a mom's perspective. Oh, they did remember it's Mother's Day. This is fantastic. But I also walked away with a profound gratitude that they still know how to play
That's
as young
awesome.
adults.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, I think some of us maybe are a little more wired for play, but I think some of us sort of got it shamed out of us, or we have some kind of concept of what it means to be a mom. And we got to take this stuff seriously, and we got to do this, we got to do this. And we really can, unfortunately, detour ourselves around from what to me is the basis of a lot of joy, which is that ability to
correct.
play.
And I think it's super practical. It's like, what does that look like with toddlers? What does that look like with teens? What does that look like in your marriage? And then it transitions into faith to go like, are we only thinking of God of like this doomsday? Like when they think about their faith, is church fun? Is reading the Bible fun? Like it's all mirrors together. But I do think when I grew up, my mom is, I talk about her like she's dead because I love her so much. I'm like, I just love her. I'm like, no, she's still alive. I just am obsessed with the way she parented. But people wanted to be in our house, and we were not a nuisance to her. Every now and then we get annoying, but like our door was open and we became the house. And I wanted to emulate that, like silly example, but she loves cereal. And anybody that came in, if they said, oh, my favorite cereal's Trix or whatever I can't even think, Rice Krispies or whatever, she would get that cereal. And we literally had like 25 boxes of cereal at the top of the closet because everybody had theirs. And it was so simple, but it was like, she also did a lot of pranks. She did pranks all of the time. April Fool's Day is like her lane. And so I learned it from her and just have tried to remind myself, even in like their middle school years, we were not having a lot of fun. And I was like, I need to reread my book. Like, I need to read that one again because I'm really cranky with teen girls.
Yeah. But I tell you, Courtney, and you probably discovered this too. There ain't no humbling like the humbling of when you've written a parenting book.
Oh,
Can I get an amen from the choir?
That's
because
right.
you do have to go back and remind yourself. There is that higher self that you have where you're like, I know that this is true. I know God has shown this to me. And then you can find yourself like, oh, I forgot that I knew that I knew so much about it that I wrote it down. But here we are. I've got to come all the way back around and make sure I got it.
My first one's graduating. I know your youngest are 18. My first one's graduating. And I thought I should do a series that's like, hey, let's go back to my first book and we're going to mark through page 4. That didn't work. Page 5, total lie. Like,
let's do the debrief, right? Like there should be a debrief version of some of these parenting books.
This bad boy because some of those things did not work.
I think that's completely fair. I love, Courtney, what you say about your mom being willing to do the cereals for everybody who came in. I find that I've wanted my kids to have, and I know a heartbeat for you is that your kids are generous. Part of generosity is hospitality, the willingness to be generous with your time, to be inconvenienced, to have chicken stuck to your ceiling, to have people undo the house that you just cleaned. And I had a house full this past week of one of my daughters, all of her university friends, the gap between when finishing finals and heading back home. And so we had a ton of people at the house. And I find that sometimes what I have done that has taken the joy and the giggle out of it is I really do love the grand gesture and all the matching blah, 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 and the, balloon arches and on and on. And there is a part of it that I really love and enjoy doing that. And yet I also have overcomplicated hospitality in a way. And when I hear of something so simple as, oh, you mentioned Fruit Loops were your favorite. I'll make sure to have that box in the
Yeah.
house. That's simple.
That's right.
But boy, does it speak volumes. How do we
Yeah, for sure.
overcomplicate the
We
joy, the
do.
giggling, the generosity, the hospitality?
We do. Ella asked for her friends to come over last night. 5 girls spend the night, and she asked me like at 3, I think. And I'm like, of course. Like these girls are going to college. It's like,
Yeah.
of course. So then she's like, well, can you make some spaghetti? We've eaten out so much. And so I'm like, sure. You know, and I get home and I realize I have no marinara sauce. And I'm like frozen, and she sees my face. She's like, Mom, can we just order pizza? I'm like, totally. And I just felt so thankful that she was like, because I started feeling myself rising up like stress. I don't have time. And, but so the pizza worked, and they just sat there and were kids.
You think that you are in the final round of getting all this parenting done. You've got kids who are in high school. You're starting to think about college. And you're thinking, this is it. I'm Julie Lyles Carr. I'm a podcaster and I'm a mom of 8. And here's what I want you to know about George Fox University. It's a different way of doing college. Why? Because yes, it's all about getting a fantastic degree to set your kid up for their future. They have 60 undergrad programs available at George Fox University. But that's not where the story ends. It's also about equipping them spiritually. If you get out of college with a degree, but you don't have a closer relationship with God, that obviously is going to deeply impact what your young adult life looks like. So for your kiddos, I want you to consider, what would it mean for your child to be able to go to George Fox University, where 93% of George Fox students say they now have a closer relationship with Jesus? George Fox University is located in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. They have 23 Division III athletic programs, and 100% of students at George Fox University receive financial aid. George Fox University is dedicated to their promise. They want every student to be known for who God created them to be. So listen, parents, yeah, you are getting into some of those final laps, but you definitely want to make these last laps count in a big way when it comes to the legacy of your parenting. So be sure and check out for your student, georgefox.edu. That's georgefox.edu.
Another funny thing I want to tell you real quick, this Mother's Day. So I used to make my kids match, as you mentioned, matching clothes. Like they were little 2 girls. It was just all a thing.
I did it with my first 2. Yep.
And I probably am still paying off all the smock dresses that I put them in. It was like my sport, and now it's a more expensive sport because they're older. But so this Sunday, I heard them at Mother's Day. I heard them giggling upstairs, and I'm like, "Oh Lord!" And they came down in matching outfits to amuse. They had yellow tops on and white jeans, and I was so proud of them that they walked right into church. And people were like, "Are they twinning?" I'm like, "They're making a joke on me." Yes. So our pictures are like them on either side. It was so fun. So I've had a fun time.
And I love this permission that you're giving again. I want to talk about challenging topics. We certainly have episodes in which we get into some deep stuff, and I think that's really important. But I do have to take that step back from time to time and say, am I balancing all of that with also the joy that we are supposed to exemplify? And honestly, I mean, if I can be real here, Courtney, I think we've even kind of, I don't know, preempted the word joy sometimes for Christians, because we're like, well, it's not like being happy.
Right.
And it's not like being this. It's like,
that's right. Yeah.
It's like this really tempered kind of thing. And I'm like, God would not have created laughter. God would not have created hilarious things that happen if that weren't to be part of joy. I mean, I get the theological argument.
I agree.
That we have a level of peace and joy that is not contingent on circumstance, of course. But at the same time, let's make sure that we're leaving it in full color. Let's make sure that we're not just only doing the grayscale of what joy can be. Why do you think we get so tempted sometimes to co-op or exempt part of the silliness and the fun when it comes to the way we look at joy?
I think in my lane as a mom, I get really into it and I take control and I want the outcome to be perfect, and things feel like the end of the world. I remember like which formula my youngest one would do because she had reflux. Thought it felt like the end of the world. What preschool they were going to. Like everything felt huge. And then all of a sudden the years start passing and you go, oh, everything isn't that big of a deal and it passes. Like just, you said it before we got on. It's like, just when you figure out the like preschool thing, oh, now we're in elementary
Yeah.
school. Now I've got a new stress. And so I recognized early on that I am pretty moody, and I call myself the chief mood officer, but I can really like the house kind of like evolves right or wrong on my mood. And I had to get out of that. I had to go like, hey, yes, there are hard days. And I can say, hey, mom had a hard day today. We all give me some grace. Ron was really cranky yesterday. And I said, are you okay? And he's like, it was just a bad day at work. But we don't operate that way. We get music going. We get a change of scenery. We get out of the house. We give people space. And so I just didn't want a heavy, and this is like a new term, but heavy energy. I didn't want the house to feel heavy, even though big things were going on. They've had learning disabilities. Ron has had cancer. Like there's been big things, and our joy is definitely in the Lord. But I think, I just didn't want us to live from this grumpy place. Like my brother says, he's a pastor, was like, Christians should be the less stressed out people in the world. It's like, we know where we're going. Like we know God has our kids. So what are we so freaked out about all the time?
All the time. Yeah. Yeah.
But you mentioned generosity. One of the things I also wanted them to know was like how to experience things. So as you think back to some of your best learnings as a child, a lot of those things you don't remember the lecture. And that was a big thing, is like laughter over lecture. Like you remember going with your mom or dad to do something. Your kids will remember the chicken. They'll be like, we had family traditions. And like, so there's something caught, not taught, that is important to me as we look at biblical virtues and even joy. It's like, we have a chapter in this house, we have a chapter in this house, we giggle about joy. And I told them to be like investigative journalists and go looking for people that are joyful all the time, no matter their circumstances and why. And so they made little notes and we talked about it. And so I think there's ways to kind of twist that joy and happy to go, yes, it can feel circumstantial, but at the end of the day, we have Jesus at our heart, and all is good in the world, and we can just rest in that.
Right, right. I want to go back to this place where we have these identity crises sometimes, right, Courtney? Because I find that I really pretty early on was able to lean in being the mom of babies. Like for whatever reason, babies was like really organic to me. I really loved being pregnant. I loved having babies. I just flowed with it. And then all of a sudden you think you've kind of got that locked down, and it shifts to toddlers, and that's a different game. And then you kind of get that locked down, and now you're elementary school kids, and that's a different game. In the middle of all this too, as all of those seasons of motherhood are shifting, changing, requiring different muscles, there were also the dreams and things that I wanted to be able to do. You likewise with your career at Chick-fil-A, and then moving into podcasting spaces, then taking a break, all those things. So talk to me about how we navigate these identity crises as we're trying to be that hub of setting a tone in our homes, setting a tone for our kids, getting these big concepts real good down in their hearts. And yet at the same time, this is our first rodeo. And
That's
I have
right.
to say, even though I have the number of kids I do and the age spans that I do, and certainly there were certain things that by the time my twins were born, I was like, I got that. But I'd never had twins before.
Right.
We're still growing. This is still our day. We don't have it all locked down. So how do we navigate all of that?
Well, I should be asking you, because I'm about to be heading into a new one, dropping my first one off at college.
Yeah.
I mean, I cry on the daily thinking like,
Yes.
I just have loved this so much, but a lot of my identity has been wrapped up into being a mom, which I know that that's not who I am. I'm a child of God, first of all. But I just want to say that this is normal. Like if you're out there and you're like, what's wrong with me? Most moms I talk to, this is where the conversation goes back to, is it's not really, should I make this money or should I go back to work? They are struggling with their identity because it rightly so gets wrapped up into your kids. It is so natural. It's like, I've never loved anything more in my life. I've never wanted to do anything better in my life. I felt like I was made to be a mom. And so I felt it the first time when I left Chick-fil-A, because I was climbing the ladder there. I was getting lots of praise and lots of promises about my future. And then and I made big decisions. Like I did the creative for the billboards and on the bags and Cow Appreciation Day, like things I did had bazillion-dollar budgets, and they went chain wide. And so then to be a stay-at-home mom in your pajamas where no one's seeing you is a real big shock. I'm like, where'd my high heels go in the boardroom? Because that was really fun. And so I had to kind of deal with it then and say, I'm not, it's funny. I mentioned Chick-fil-A because I used to not be able to meet someone without saying I worked at Chick-fil-A. And so I'm like, I am more than that. like, yes, that was cool and impressive, but I'm more than that. And then it kind of transitioned into I'm a mom of great kids. So my identity was tied to I'm a mom that knows what she's doing. And so it's been an unpeeling. And my old pastor, Andy Stanley, said this years ago, which I loved. He said, if some things are problems to manage, let me say that again. He said, it might be a problem to manage, or it's, hold on, let me think about that again. Problem to solve or tension to manage. That's how he said it. Is it a problem to solve or tension to manage? And
Mm-hmm.
he made me realize that there's things in this world that they're just going to have tension. Your work-life balance is an ongoing tension. I've wrestled with it for years, and I'm better in some seasons. Feeling my identity wrapped up in my kids has been a tension to manage. And I don't think I would be doing a good job if you or I said step 1, 2, 3, this is how you nip it. It would be a
Right.
beautiful thing if we could wake up
If
and
we can
say,
figure
Lord,
that out.
my identity is in you. Don't let me get it tied to my kids. But I'm better at noticing it quicker now. Like it would be
Yeah.
before that I would go a whole season and like something would go wrong with the kids and I would tank because they were struggling. I was struggling. And it's like, I feel like as they're aging, I'm doing a better job of seeing myself as an individual and them as an individual, but it's tricky.
It
There's been
is.
tears. It's
Yeah,
been real
no,
tricky.
it is tricky. And I think too, our individual levels of connection play into
Mm-hmm.
this in terms of how we attach to others, what we've onboarded as messages as women into
Yeah.
what level of attachment we think we're supposed to have in different scenarios, and how we even define what a good mom is versus what a
Right.
great mom is, and all those kinds of things. How we define that really does have a lot to do with our ability to move with a certain level of
Yeah.
gentleness through these different stages, and then the places where we really dig heels in and struggle. I found too something that's fascinating. I have a friend who very transparently, she has 3 kids, and the first 2 kids are the kind of kids that always made the straight A's and were the class whatevers. And she was so proud of being the kids that had it, the mom of the kids who had
Yeah.
it so together.
Yeah.
And then she has a child who has struggled a lot more, has struggled with some behavior issues, from some learning
Yeah.
differences, and great kid, but very vulnerably, she shared with me, man, I did not realize how much I liked being the mom of the good kids, the kids
Mm,
where if anybody ever called you from school, it was to say they've won another award,
that's right. That's right.
versus now when the phone rings and she goes, oh no,
Yeah.
what has happened now?
You're like, I would just want to take credit for the good kids, not the bad kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that place is really tender too,
Mm-hmm.
and is so important in terms of what we communicate to our kids as to how we are identifying ourselves in the middle of either their successes or their challenges. If you
That's
found that
right.
that can be kind of interesting for you sometimes, like if they're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
great, you're great. And if they're, like, hey, that's not the reputation we're trying to have here. Mama has a book on parenting. What are you
For
doing?
sure. It's actually one of the reasons I took a pause because my second book was a mother-daughter study, and my kids were getting a lot of eyeballs on them and sort of some
Yeah.
side passive-aggressive comments, like if they did anything that was not right, and it just bothered me. I thought they don't need extra pressure to be a good kid with
Right.
their mom talking about this all the time. And so that was one of the factors that played into is like, I just wanted to take a breather and kind of get off social media and get off the, stage for a little bit and let them just be kids and let them mess up and let them, not have all these eyeballs on them. So I do think it's super difficult. One of the things I would ask is just because I can, should I? Like it's a could versus
Mm.
should. So back in the day, I had a product that's no longer available, but it's ABC scripture cards. And they went really big, really fast. And I was like, oh my gosh, this could be like a whole company. Like they were on The View and Lisa Turker sold them. And they were just like, all of a sudden, I'm like running a small business. And I ended up praying on it. It was like, I could take this thing and do every version of scripture cards, boys, girls, teens, grads. And I really felt pressed on the Lord that it was not the thing I was supposed to do. It would take me away from the main thing, which I just wanted to be with my kids. And so I sold it to a company and they did all the work and gave me like a tiny percentage. But I wanted to like talk to myself and go like, you don't have to prove it to the other moms that you're really, really smart. You don't have to prove it to the world that you could be a CEO of some company. Like that is an internal wrestling with my pride to go like, Lord, where are you taking me? I don't have to prove it to the people in the car line that my girls are the kindest out there. Like it is a constant wrestling for me of pride going like, Lord, I wanted them to be good.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
want people to know I'm really, really smart. And
Yeah.
so it's humbling. And Sarah Haggerty, I'm sure you talked to her, wrote the book Unseen. And it hit something deep in me the other day. It's like, it's hard. It is hard. It is hard to feel unseen where you used to being really seen and really
Yeah. Yeah.
applauded. And but it's worth it. Like, you've got grown kids looking back now, you're like, every minute of it was worth it that I stepped back. And Ron's boss, he was promoted to the C-suite this last couple of years, and his boss ended up writing me a note, and she said, I just wanted you to know that I watch you and I watch how you step back so that he can step forward. And Julie,
Yeah.
I sobbed. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
some words that I needed to hear someone recognize that I took sacrifices so that my husband's career could go forward or that my kids would benefit. And so that's about 55 points to your one question, but
No,
that's
I
where
mean,
my head goes.
no, it's huge. And it has to do with that sense of identity. And this is one of those things that I think, I'm not saying it's completely unique to our generation of women, but I do think that we do straddle a very strange dynamic, which
Yeah.
is, yes, we have messaging saying be home with the kids, and there's new research out about why that's important and this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. And then
Yeah.
on the flip side, we know if we step away or if we love it and we want to be able to
That's right.
continue to progress in what we've been building up to the point
That's
that we
right.
had kids. And of course, there is no easy answer, but I
Mm-mm.
think in a lot of it, part of what we are hoping for is that what we have done, we hope it will matter, that we will
Yeah.
be seen in some way, and to intentionally recuse ourselves potentially from having that be seen, to have a witness
Yeah.
to what it takes, is something that is very hard to do. And I think it's only going to get harder to do potentially in a culture that is so much about being seen. Now, part of what's fascinating, I got to confess, I mean, with the ages of my oldest kids, at that point, I left a career in television and radio. I was still doing some offshoot stuff in that industry, but to go from every day being seen to being home and dealing with diapers, which I was so thankful I got to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But part of what became very interesting in that wrestling was, if social media had existed then like it does today, I would have been one of those moms who, particularly with my oldest kids, I would have had them plastered everywhere. As it was,
Yeah.
I did the mom blog thing like you
Yeah.
did, and started around 2007. And I did have the kids front and center in a lot of that as they found fun. Now, I will say that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah. Yeah.
we did funny stuff and we did, but I
Yeah.
didn't make it completely on that. But man, when you're looking for validation to be seen, even when you're home, needing
Yes.
to evaluate, okay, how much am I leveraging my kids
That's
as the
right.
portal through which I want to be seen?
It's
And
embarrassing when I look back. My kids will go
oh
into the teacher will be like, everyone Google their name and we're going to talk about a digital footprint. And the girls
yeah.
are like, Mom, like, how many pictures did you
put
I'm
up?
so sorry. And it was boredom. It was like, I'm growing something, but
Yeah.
I have to think, like, did I exploit them? I don't know, but I get that. It's this constant connection. Does someone see me? Does someone see me? I
Yeah.
will say too that social media has complicated, like, we think there's a way. So when I was younger, I thought, do good Christian moms have 2 kids and they adopt one? Like, what's the right number?
What's
Like,
the right way
I was
to do
looking
it?
to emulate something. And as you mentioned, working, not working, 4 kids, 8 kids, like, it is such a personal and seasonal thing for every mom. And that is the hard part, is like, we have got to get good at discerning and praying and saying, God, you better make me sure of where you have me, because then I'm going to try to copy. I'm going to try to emulate. I'm going to try to be a podcaster, or read a book, or start a company. What is the right Christian thing to do? He's like, no, I want you in the workplace. He may say to you, no, I want you teaching for 10 years. And so I think that's also the danger of social media, is that comparison can really stir up those identity when you're feeling insecure and you're like, all right, well, she looks like she's doing great. She likes her kids. They're happy. They're doing well. And we just start changing stuff that doesn't go with where God is leading us. And I wish I'd gotten that right a lot, but it's like, why did I make that like my 4th call? Why isn't my first call? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like reading a book, taking a podcast, calling a mentor, going, have you asked God, Court? Have you sat with him and said, where do you want me and my family in this season at this time? And it's changed a million times. I feel like I've had 9 lives, but so don't forget to pray, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do think that constant seeking, I've had people reach out before and say, okay, so the 8 kid thing, like, how many kids do you think people should have? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that is between you and your creator. I do not have the answer for that. And so,
You're like, I don't want to be financially responsible for the 8 that I talk you into. So.
yeah. I mean, there's, let's not do that. You go figure that out. You go
That's
take
right.
some time.
That's right.
Well, Courtney, I feel like there are so many other things that we could talk about, but I want to be mindful of your time. I know that you have somebody who's getting ready to graduate and you have ball game tournaments and all kinds of things going on. I want to make sure the listener knows how to go over and listen to more of the great stuff that you've got, the great wisdom, find your books, all the things. So where can a listener go to find out more about you?
Sure. First, thank you for having me. You're delightful. I can tell you've been doing this a while, so I learned a lot watching you podcast and think we would get along in real life. So
I
thanks
think so
for
too.
having me. But Courtney DeFeo, I'm on Instagram or Pardon the Mess podcast on Instagram, and just would love to get to know you and encourage you in any way. So keep up the good job, moms. I see you. I can't see you, but I see you.
I see you. I see you. Well, Courtney, it's just been an absolute delight. Thanks so much for spending the afternoon with me.
Have a good day.
All right, friend, you know what to do. Go to those show notes. Rebecca puts them together. They will have all the links for you, where you can find Courtney, find her great podcast, her books, all the stuff. Be sure and check out AllMomDoes.com, AllMomDoes on the socials. It's a great community of women who are just navigating all the things that you are. And you're going to find friendship and wisdom and support over there. I love it too when you come to Instagram, Julie Lyles Carr, all the places. Come to my DMs. Tell me who you want to hear from. Tell me about the topics that are important to you, because that's the whole purpose of having this time together, to make sure that we are meeting you right where you live with what's going on right in your life today. And I'll see you next time on the AllMomDoes podcast.
Thanks for listening. We just wanted to take a minute to let you know that just like you and your family, Purposely is also part of a family, the Krista Family of Ministries. Krista helps kids and teens learn and grow in their faith at King Schools and Miracle Ranch Camp. And Krista shares Jesus with people in the poorest, most remote places through World Concern. Krista Senior Living is a community of love and care, and Krista Media is a place of hope on the radio. God is changing lives through these 5 ministries, and Krista is on mission to share the good news of Jesus. To learn more, visit Krista.org.